Hello class, in this video we're going to look at using Excel for a calculator for all these finance calculations. So some of the very basics. First of all, let's look at Excel. So this is an Excel spreadsheet. Okay, I've got my columns listed by the alphabet. I've got my rows listed by numbers. Right, and in the different columns, the heading, the very first row of the columns, we're going to list the names of the things that are used in the formulas, and then below that we're going to list the actual values, and then somewhere down below that, doesn't exactly matter, a couple rows down, I usually spread it out, we'll actually do some calculations, and I'll show you how to use Excel to do these calculations. So one of the first things I do is split screen, if your computer can do it, where you click the top of the name and you drag to the left and to the right of the screen to do a split screen. Now, not all of them can do it, but if yours can, it does make this a little bit easier to do. So what I want to do here is, let me actually make this a little smaller as well. I want to use the different formulas that are here and show you how to do that in Excel to get a something you just type into in Excel will already have a calculation done for you. So up here at the very top in A1, this is just, I'm going to call this first sheet. Let me bring this up from the bottom. Instead of sheet 1, I'm going to call it PFD, percents, fractions, and decimals. Okay, and then up here in A1, alright, the percent, to express a fraction is percent, divide the numerator by denominator, multiply. We've already seen this in the notes before. But I'm going to write here fraction, and then in the parentheses beside I'm going to write percent. Okay. Now the fraction, I'm going to have a numerator and a denominator. Okay, so start off with something we know, like 3 is the numerator, enter 4 is the denominator. Okay, so let me actually right click the column here and click insert. Doesn't give me anything. I'm going to put numerator and then denominator. Double click and it'll expand out. Denominator. Okay, again, I went past this line here, so I just click in between the two. Hit enter. Click in between the two. Make that little symbol, the line with the two arrows in it. Just double click and it makes it expand. Okay, so the numerator is 3, denominator is 4. Now, percent, how do you get percent? Divide numerator by denominator and then multiply. So what I'm going to do is in this box under percent, I'm going to type the word, or I'm going to type this symbol equals, the equal symbol. Alright, and then divide numerator by denominator. So click the numerator and then divide by the denominator. Click the denominator and then hit times, the next thing says multiply that by 100, so times 100. Alright, and then enter, and then add a percent sign. So there's the percent symbol. Alright, so there it is. Now, you may be thinking, well, I can just do that with a calculator, but watch. Now I can change the numerator to 5/8, and that changes to a percent on the fly. I can change this to 9/11. Alright, and it'll give me, oops, I need to, alright, so that went 9, delete that, cell, alright, now, I accidentally hit 9, enter, let's do that, alright, I need to right click that and tell it that it is I did format cells. I don't know why it automatically went to custom. I need to tell this is a number. Okay. And right click this, format, it's a number. Alright, now it says it's a 112.5%. If I change that to like 11, alright, notice it changed it to a percent and it's rounded it. Okay. You can even tell Excel to round it to the nearest hundredth if you want to. Like you could type in equals round double click right here where it says round, and then click it says round number. What do you want me to round? So click the percent, and then it says comma, and then number of digits. So comma, how many digits? I want you to round it to the 2 digits. Alright, and now it rounded it to the second place value. Okay, so this is, again, the nice thing about this is it will let you type in anything here, and it'll give you a percent. Alright, rounded to 100. Okay, so there's a fraction to percent. I can do like something we did a little later, and there was I think decimal to percent. So now I might write decimal, and maybe I have like 0.05. Alright, now how do you change a percent, or sorry, a decimal to a percent? You just multiply it by 100. Okay, basically that's what's going on right here. After you divide, you got a decimal times 100, gets you to percent. So I'm going to write percent over here beside it. Alright, and again, to click equals, you got to click equals to be able to do any math. Move the decimal point 2 places to the right. That's equivalent to taking this decimal, so click the decimal times 100. Alright, so that's 5, and then add a percent sign. Percent. Okay, so what if I have something like 0.27 or 274, or 27.4%. Okay, I can type in any decimal I want to in that cell. Alright, you may want to click the cells that you type in numbers for, and highlight those so you don't accidentally click these, because these have the equal sign in them. They're the ones that have the math in them. You don't want those to you don't want these cells to ever have anything put into them. Okay, if you ever do make it accidentally put something in this cell, like if I accidentally put in 56 in there, now it just has 56, you can hit on your keyboard Control Z, and it'll go back to having the formula in there. Okay, so make sure you only type into the ones that have the yellow. Alright, and then a little bit further down, we went from a percent to a decimal. So we start off with a percent, and let me cut that, put it down one more. So I started off with a percent and went to a decimal. Alright, and then how do we do that? Well, we take the percent, like 55%, and we change it to a decimal by, this time, instead of multiplying by 100, we're going to take this thing and divide by 100. Alright, that's equivalent of moving it 2 places to the left. So now no matter what I put in there, 45.67%, 0.4567, alright, 5.95%, 0.0595. So now you have a calculator. You've created your own calculator that will go from a fraction to a percent, a decimal to a percent, and a percent to a decimal. Alright, now that's just the beginning. I want to show you how to kind of build up this idea for some of the more complicated things later on. Alright, maybe you want to do a discount and price calculator. So come over here, open up another sheet, you just hit the plus sign to add more sheets. So I'm going to call this new sheet discount. Alright, so what do I need to compute a discount? We need to know the original price, right? And again, I can hit enter, go up in between the two cells and double click. I need to know the discount rate, right, the percent off. Right, enter and double click between the cells. Right, and then from those two I can compute the discount, and then I compute the sale price. So down here I'm going to just type in discount. Right, now how do you get the discount? You gotta know the original price. So on this one it was $1,460. Alright, the discount rate is 15% off, so I'm going to type in 15. Alright, and then I'm going to the side here, I'm going to put in percent. Alright, I'm just setting that to the side. The number's all we need to put in this cell. Okay, it'll always be a percentage off. Alright, now the discount. How do you get the discount? Well, you take the discount rate, you convert that to a decimal, so notice 0.15. They went from 15% to 0.15. How do you do that? You go from a percent, divide by 100, now you've got the decimal, times the original price. So times, and then click this cell. And there's your discount. Alright, $219. Now how do you get the computer sell price after you've got the discount? You just subtract that from the original price. So the price paid, or you can call it the new price, is the original price. So click that, minus the discount. So minus, click the discount. Again, enter. There's a $12.41. Now, what if the original price had been $15,000? It was a car, and you put 10% down. Notice everything changes. Everything changes on the fly. It can adjust to whatever problem you're doing. All right, I'm going to add another one and do sales tax. All right, what do I need for sales tax? I need the purchase price and the tax rate. So it's very similar to the last one. So purchase price, enter, go in between, double click, tax rate. Alright, the purchase price on this problem was $894. The tax rate on this one was 7.5%. So again, I'm going to put a percent over here. Alright, and then down here, how much tax is paid. So I'm going to put a little column for taxes, or sales tax, I guess I should say. Alright, so sales tax is, again, the tax rate times the item's cost. So the tax rate, 7.5%, but we need to do equals if we're doing math. To go from 7.5% to 0.075, we got to divide the percent by 100. Okay, now we got it as a decimal, times the purchase price. Just click it, don't type it in, just click it. Right, there's the 67.05, and then what do we do with that 67.05? We add it to the purchase price. So we're going to write amount paid equals the purchase price plus sales tax. There's a $961.05 again. Now, what if it's a $20,000 car and we have to pay 9.5%? Alright, so there's how much we paid. So now again, if I highlight these, and I did this on the last one, those are the only things I put in, and it'll put in everything for me. Okay, don't type into any of the other boxes. Only type into these two. Alright, let's do percent increase, percent decrease. That's another common one we see. So I'm going to call this sheet percent change. Alright, now, with these, we need the original amounts and the amount of increase or decrease. So original amount, and then I'm going to call it change in price. Alright, again, I'm going to click up here. Alright, now the change in price, it depends. We're going to type in something, but the change in price could be increase or it could be an increase or it can be a decrease. So let's look at what we have. The example that I gave you before. So we had the percent increase, 2,000 to 1,050 high projection. So 2,000 was 6 billion to 30 billion. So instead of change, let me do something real quick. Let me right click, cut. So you can still see right click, and then this paste. You can either get Control V for paste, or you can just right click and hit the little clipboard. Let me do this. Original amount, and then new amount. Alright, the new amount is just the more recent amount. So 2,000 is the original amount, 6 billion, 30 billion is the change amount. Alright, so I'm going to double click that to get it to expand. So again, original amount was 6 billion, I'm just write 6. The new amount, 30 billion, is the more recent amount. That's what I mean by the new amount. Now the change in price. For this formula, all we want to do is find a positive number on the top. Okay, so we're going to type in equals the change in price. We're going to use ABS for absolute value, and we're going to subtract new amount minus the original amount. Okay, and close that off. That's the change in the price. Alright, now this is percent. The percent change is the change, which is the numerators, which is this, the change in price, whether it's an increase or a decrease, divided by the original amount, which is this. So we're going to, and then written as a percent. So we have to multiply by 100. So this will be a fraction, okay, because it's two numbers, one over the other, and then times 100 to get it to percent. So I'm going to type in equals change divided by the original. Oops, sorry. Change divided by original times 100. Alright, so there's 400%. Alright, now, this is something that's different. This is something you'll have to pay really close attention to. Is it an increase or a decrease? Well, you can see it increased. But over here to the side, you can do something called an if command. So you can click equals and type the word if, and notice it gives you a choice. So I'm going to click if. Alright, logical test. You can type in if the new amount, so click that, is greater than the original amount, comma, value if true. What are we going to type in this cell if the new amount is bigger than the original? Well, that was an increase, so I'm going to put a quote, increase. Alright, and then value if false, I'm going to put a comma, and then if it's not bigger, then it's a decrease. And then we'll close it off. Okay, so this was an increase. Now let's look at the other example. Alright, so the other one says from 2000 to 2150 we started at 6 and then we went down to 4. So if we change this to a 4, notice this went to a 2. That's a 33.33% change, and it's a decrease. Okay, and so look at the solutions that we got. We got a 400% if this was 30. Alright, and it says increase, and then a 33.33% when this was a 4. Alright, and it was a decrease. So that's an if command. You don't have to put that in there. You can look at it and see, but again, it's nice, something to learn. This if-based command, it just lets you put in numbers and just see things on the fly. So again, these are the things that you put in here. Everything else it calculates for you. Alright, so all the yellow stuff is stuff that gets calculated for you. Alright, now let's step up and do a little bit more complicated formulas with Excel. Alright, now here's one, a good one. Simple interest to kind of get us thinking how this is going to work. Simple interest, notice we compute interest, and to do it we need principal, rate, and time. So I'm going to put P, oops, I went to P with a P, R, T in here, okay, and then eventually when we use the equals, that's going to be our interest. So let's come up with an example. Alright, there's P, R, and T. So in this one, 2000 is P. The rate is 6%, so we'll type it in as a percent. Alright, and then T is 1 in this one, first year. Alright, now, what's the interest rate? So anywhere you want to put it, you can put it down here, you can put it up here, I'm going to put it over here. I say equals principal times rate times time. So principal times rate. Now we got to change this to a percent. I mean, from a percent to a decimal. So click that and then divide it by 100. Alright, principal times rate times time. Alright, and then enter. There's the $120. Alright, let's just do it again, show it works. Alright, 1800. Now I'll just change it now. I've already typed it in one time, so just change it to 1800. Notice that I will change. 8% is my interest rate. Alright, and 2 years. So there's 288. So it's just changing it, doing it on the fly. Alright, another one, future value. A equals P plus 1 plus RT. So still to compute this, all we still need is P, R, and T. We just have that extra 1 in there. Alright, so right here with this cell, I'm going to write future value. And then down below it, I'm going to type in an equals. Alright, and then I'm going to click the P. Right, not the letter, but the number that's associated with it, P. Now I got a parentheses, remember that means times, so I'm going to put a times. Now open parentheses, 1 plus R times T. Now R again is a decimal in these formulas, so click the percent, divide it by 100 to get a decimal, and then times T. So times, and then T, click the number. Close that parentheses. Now notice this A2 is where the P was. Parentheses 1 plus R was B2. I divided by 100 to get a decimal. Times T. Alright, and then hit enter. And there's my future value of this thing. It's just the 1800 plus the 288. Alright, let's do a different one. Alright, a loan of 1,060. 6.5% interest. Alright, for 3 months. 3 months is a quarter of a year, so 1/4 or 0.25. Alright, there's the future value, 1077.23. Alright, it's not rounded. Again, you could do what we did in that last video. You could type in equals round. Start typing round. Alright, round what number? This number, comma, how many places? 2. That's rounded to the nearest cent, which is typically what we do because it's money, right? So rounded to the nearest cent would be 23. Alright, you can put rounded to the nearest cent. Alright, and now you've got this calculator that any type of problem you ever deal with that deals with future value, you just type it in here. Alright, if I wanted to do one for this, I could. Alright, I would just need, when we know, we've got A, P, T, T, and I want to know the interest. Well, we had to do a little bit of algebra on this, right? This is our formula we're starting off with. And we want to solve this thing for R. So we'd have to get the R out of there, we'd have to divide both sides by P. Alright, now we got A over B equals 1 plus R times T. Now we're solving for R, so we got to get the 1 over, so A over P minus 1 equals R times T. And finally, last thing, divide away the T, and I've got R by itself. So R equals A divided by P minus 1, all that. Now that will have to all be in a parentheses since there's subtraction up top, and we're dividing that. And then all that divided by T. Alright, so once again, there's my formula. I'm going to type in A is 2655, P is 2500, T is 1/2 or 0.5, and then down here, to find R, the simple interest rate, that would take me from P and get me to A in a half a year, is equal to, that's the rate, is equal to parentheses A divided by P, so A divided by P, alright, there's that, minus 1, close the parentheses, divide by T, divide by, and again you click it when it comes to a variable, divide by T. Okay. Alright, so there's the simple interest rate, and then we typically write this as a percent. So we were going to write equals that decimal. We're going to multiply that by 100, and there it is as a percent. And then if ever needed, you can type in equals round that guy. Oops, double click, round that guy, comma, to 2 places, which is again a typical place to round these things to. If it doesn't say 2, you can always double click this. Just go up here, don't change it down here. Go up here and change that to 3 or 0 or 1 or however many places you need. And you can round it. So this is a percent. And this is a percent rounded to the nearest hundredth. Alright. So there's that problem. There's the solution that we came up with last time. Let's say that this had been 3,500. We started with 2,000, and it took us 2.75 years. So the interest rate was 27.27. Alright, so there's that formula. We solved it for R, and then we used that to come up with a way to get it, to get the calculation via Excel. Alright, compound interest. Let me pull up our spreadsheet. Compound interest started to get a little bit more complicated. Not terrible. Alright, I'm going to call this one simple interest rate. The last one we did. Alright, now we'll add another one. This one will be compound interest. Alright, so this one, A equals P. To get A, we need P, R, N, and T. So P, R, N, and T. Alright, so let's come up with an example. Okay, so 7,500 was P, R was 6%, N is monthly, so 12, and T for this first example is 5 years. Alright, now how do I get the future value, or A? So A equals, right, P times, so P times parentheses 1 plus R divided by N. R needs to be a decimal, so R divided by 100 to get it to be a decimal, then divided by N. Divided by N is 12. Alright, close parentheses. Alright, raised to the power of, that's shift 6. Raised to the power of. Now, there's multiplication up here. I've got to have a parentheses around it. Alright, N times T. N times T. Everything gets clipped. Alright, so there's 10,116.38. Notice it's giving me more decimals than that. So if I want it to be rounded, just click equals round. Alright, the number, 2 decimal places against typical percents. Alright, so rounded to the nearest cent. Alright, so there's compound interest. Alright, if I ever see another compound interest problem, I can adjust it. Okay, so this is one we saw a little bit later. So 8,000. Our rate was 7%, compounded monthly, so still 12. And we want to see what's in there after 6 years. Alright, so there's 12,016.84. Done for me immediately. Just hitting equals on the inputs. Alright, now I'm not going to go through every single one of these. I want you to go through some of these formulas yourself. Look through some of these notes and look at what the title is and come up with a name for the sheet and then type in the formula yourself. So let's go to this one. This one's from the 8.5 section. This is an annuity, and this is one where P is what we're going to put in each month. So I'm going to call this annuity. Alright, so if we're given the payment that's made each month, this is how much it'll accumulate to after T years. So we need P in this formula. The right hand side has P. It has R, N, and T. R, N, T, just like the last one. Just a little bit more complicated of a formula. So let's look at an example. So at 25, we're going to decide to deposit 200, that's P, into an IRA that pays 7.5%, 7.5, compounded monthly. So again, we talked about how 12 is used so much in this stuff. And then how much will you have when you retire at the age of 65? That's 40 years. Okay, now let's go back to the formula. Alright, the amount we'll have, the future value, which is A. Alright, that equals, notice what we have. We have P times, so P times, parentheses, parentheses, so bracket parentheses the same as parentheses, parentheses, so I'm going to hit parentheses twice, 1 plus R over N. Remember, R needs to be a decimal, so R divided by 100 to make it a decimal, divided by N, divided by N. Close that inner parentheses. Right, notice it made both of those turn red. Raised to the power of, so shift 6. Right, remember there needs to be a parentheses around this, N times T, so raised to the power of parentheses, N times T, so N times T. Close that parentheses because that's in the exponent. Minus 1. Alright, then we close that bracket. So shift parentheses. Now I closed all of that in that bracket. Now divided by. Now again, there's not a parentheses written around here, but we need a parentheses around the denominator because it's got a fraction within it. So divided by parentheses R over N. R is still not written as a decimal. Every time we click where R is in these things, it's written as a percent, so we need to change it to a decimal by dividing by 100 and divide by N. Alright, close the denominators, parentheses. Alright, so there's our future value, enter. And then we click the next one where we went through the example. And there's our number. Okay, it rounded to the nearest whole. You don't have to do that. I would still round to the nearest cent. And then if the problem asks you the nearest dollar, you could just round it with your eyes. So I would write here, write equals round, double click, click the number, comma, 2 places. Okay. If you wanted it rounded to the nearest dollar, you can do that. You just up here, instead of rounded to 2, just change that to a comma, 0, and round it to the nearest dollar. Alright, it's completely up to you how you want to go about rounding. Alright, rounding's not that bad. I would just leave it as a nearest cent, and then if it asks for a dollar, just change it. Alright, now this is just showing you how to do it with a particular one that was a little bit more complicated. I want you to be able to do it to any single one of these. So if you want to come up with the monthly payment to get to your goal, you just do what we did. You know, make a place for A, make a place for R, make a place for N and T, and then type this in just like we did with our parentheses and our brackets and everything. Well, like we did in it right here. Okay, just click on the cells down here with the numbers in them. Once your formula calls for them. right? And then look at a formula or look at a problem that we did and see if you get the same thing. And I'll let you know if you did it right.